So you're the son of a former racer. As a kid, do you get tired of hearing about your dad at all when people come and talk to you?
What did he say? I don't know what he might have said. I'm going to say probably not. I'm sure sometimes it can get a little bit wearing, but he's doing enough cool things on his own now that I think he's probably getting less and less of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I obviously don't credit him enough for my success. You know, he's been here every step of the way, and it's better to have it that way than to not have him in racing.
True,
so.
true. I hear you're a high school senior.
Yes.
I don't know if I give off the vibe, but I teach high school seniors.
Really? What
Yeah.
do you teach?
I teach 12th grade U.S. government and politics.
Okay, I'm taking econ right now. So.
All right. What's your favorite subject in school?
I'd like to say lunch, but I'm actually really interested in history. You know, I like the theory of like of real life stories. You know, it's interesting to me.
Awesome.
No, Colton's a good kid. He's a good kid. He's a good student. His teachers always seem to like him. You know, he does well in school and he understands. We talk a lot about that. You know, my job as a parent, or his mother and I, you know, we try and create a well-rounded human being and try and give him all the opportunities we can in life and let him make those things happen for himself. But he understands having a good educational background is foundational to anything else you want to do in your life.
So I sent a message out to all my students yesterday mentioning how I was going to be talking to a fellow senior, and they sent me all sorts of questions that they want to know. So first of all, just how do you balance being a full-time student with racing?
That's the toughest bit. Obviously, race car drivers, they don't go to college because it's too hard. You can't do both. It's too much time consuming. So I take most of my classes online. I take one class in actual school.
Okay.
I take an elective, so it's easier.
Okay.
But I do all my classes online on my computer, so I can do it when I'm at the track and wherever I need to be.
I think the new technologies have made things a lot easier for him. He has opportunities that I never had. You know, when he lived in Europe, he did all of his classes online. And that's something that I couldn't have possibly done. And now that he's back, he takes some classes physically at his school and some classes still online. And, you know, he's really close to graduation now. So, yeah, I'm proud because it hasn't been easy. You know, it's been challenging. You think online must be easier, but in a lot of the ways it's harder because you don't have somebody, you know, in the classroom. You can just ask a question when you get stuck. You got to figure out how to problem solve and work through it on your own. So I think it's been really good for him.
Do you feel like you miss out at all with any of the social things that go with high school?
Yeah, that's obviously like, I tell kids my age all the time, it's like you don't realize how much fun you have in high school until you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Like you get to see your friends all day, you don't have to worry about anything, where it's like you have to grow up and then it sucks in the real world. But yeah, it's tough. Obviously, I do take one class at school, so I still get to go to homecoming and prom, and I get to graduate with my class. So
some other questions that kids asked are, one kid in particular wanted to know, do you consider yourself an athlete?
Yeah, that's always the debate, right? Like, we actually have lower resting heart rates than most sports people. So we have it's better red blood cells than NFL or NHL athletes. So we actually have we need endurance, but we also need strength. So obviously with the Indy cars producing 3,000 or 4,000 pounds of downforce, it makes the steering very heavy. You can have up to 6 G's on your neck, so 6 times your weight pushing against your neck. So neck is really important. It's really important to have a good core to hold yourself in the car really tightly when you're moving around. And yeah, obviously you need endurance. A lot of us like to bike or run.
So a lot of the kids, their frame of reference as far as driving goes is in a car that's made for comfort. You just mentioned how the steering feels heavy. Could you expand on that a little more and what other differences you might notice when switching back and forth?
There's no AC. So on a weekend like this where it's 65 degrees to 70 degrees, it'll get up to 120 degrees, 110 degrees in the cockpit. So obviously with an open wheel car, it's a lot better that you have the wind coming at you in your face, so it cools you down a little bit better. But once you get into some of those GT cars, it gets really hot, and that's where the endurance factor comes in. So yeah, obviously you pour a bead seat, so it's like a bean bag basically. Those little beads in a bean bag that's formed together, and it's formed around you. So when you sit in the car, it won't fit anybody else except for my body type.
Mm-hmm. So you made a commitment very early on in your life to pursue this as a career. Do you feel any extra pressure that a normal teenager wouldn't feel, having made that adult decision so early in your life?
I mean, I guess you feel it in high school sports as well. You feel pressure to succeed. You want to either go to college or you want to do good in your sport. You don't want to let people down. And obviously for me, it's super important because this is a career for me now.
Right.
It's really important. And if I don't do this, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do. I mean, I'll probably be working at a McDonald's.
Yeah, everything's coming much earlier for Colton. So he's doing a lot of these things when he's in high school. I actually went 3 years to college, almost 4 years of college. So I went to UC Irvine, Ohio State. So I know what it's like to try and be a student and a race car driver, and I'm sympathetic to that. But at the same time, I feel strongly that it's important that you don't let one slide for the other.
So I mentioned to the kids how your team is co-owned by two sports legacies, the Andretti's and the Steinbrenners, and one of the kids wanted to know, what sort of pressure does that bring onto you?
It's not massive, actually.
Yeah.
I think for most people it would be, but my dad drove for Andretti's for a long time, so I grew up around Mario, Michael, and Marco, so I know them all very well, and then obviously George is more of a friend than a team owner to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously not a ton of pressure, but I could see if somebody else was in my shoes, and it could be.
Obviously, I want to help and be supportive. I try to be somebody he can talk to when he, on the racing side of things, when he's got things he wants to talk about, he's struggling with, he has questions with. I just try and be there for him and be supportive and give advice when he wants it. Try not to give him too much advice when he doesn't. It's hard for parents and children, right? Like, there's this natural dynamic, right? At a certain point, you don't want to hear something from your parents, and I get that, so try not to overstep those.
Now, if one of your peers wanted to get started driving, obviously they're a little behind the eight ball, but what would they have to do to transition from normal teenager to race car driver?
Yeah, that's tough. Obviously, at this point, I would say you have to go into karting. You have to do a little bit of go-karting, not indoor karting, to an actual kart track.
Yeah.
And do it the safe way. Obviously, no, don't race on the streets. It's stupid. It's not worth it. And yeah, just slowly progress. If you look it up online, there's a few racing schools that you can get to: Bondurant, Skip Barber, Lucas Oil racing schools, and that's the best way to get into it and see if you like it and see if you have something for it.
Yeah, you love to see your kids succeed at things, and so I would like nothing more than to see him achieve way more than I ever did as a driver. I hope that for him. I really do.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck to you this weekend and the rest of the year.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your time.